Hello guys, and welcome to the retake of our Dream Big class. As you guys know, if you were registered for Dream Big class originally, we had to shut it down because there was a little bit of music playing in the background and YouTube did not allow it. So we are actually reshooting that video tonight or today, and we are gonna potentially make it live for the public, general public, now that the class has been done, so that more people can see the various different techniques that we use for this particular workshop, and just make it accessible to the general public. So again, thanks again for your patience as we now jump in to the Dream Big workshop. Let's go ahead and switch over to that top view so that we can get started. So the Dream Big class consists of 4 different kits, and those of you who signed up for the workshop, then you actually have your kits with you, and we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. We're using the Dream Big stamp set to create this workshop. And the first thing we want to do is we want to score that card base in half. And then we've got 3 different layers of cardstock. So we have a layer of our tangy berry, a layer of tangy apple, and then a layer of powdered sugar. This is a little bit more of a simple layout. So we're going to go ahead and set this aside. While we have our score tool out though, we're going to go ahead and score all of our different card kits. So go ahead and bring out your next kit. And it might help if you put it back in that bag so that you don't lose any of your pieces. You just want to come in here and score, fold and score all of our card bases. This particular one also has a layer of our tangy apple, tangy berry, powdered sugar, and an additional piece of cardstock for some embossing. Next card here. And then we have one more to score, and then we'll start our stamping projects. In this particular workshop, everybody received the lumberjack plaid or the lumber plaid for free in the workshop. So if you've now joined us and have ordered the newest tight plaid, you can obviously use the tight plaid as well. It's a great add-on. It's a little bit smaller than this lumber plaid, but it works just the same. As a matter of fact, I'm going to use my new one because this one's now retired. So everybody received the lumber plaid. You can use the lumber plaid if that's what you would like. But to keep this class relevant, we are going to use the tight plaid. All right, so all of our scoring is done. We can put our score tool away. And we're going to start off by stamping some fun images. Now I'm just going to get a scrap of some powdered sugar. I have several scraps here of powdered sugar that I'm going to be using. Perfect. And then I'll grab more as I need them. But the first thing I want to do is I'm going to grab one of our clear blocks, and I'm going to create a fun design here, just featuring different types of ink pads. So I'm going to start first with my tangy orange, and I'm just going to add ink on the entire set. Now, something super cool here is that merging the two colors together. So I'm going to bring in a layer of that black taffy just along the edge. You can already see the ink from both of those stamps just kind of merging together. And we're going to go ahead and stamp that. Beautiful colors, beautiful tone. We're going to clean that stamp. We're going to bring in our next stamp. This one is going to be inked up using our tangy gum. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to come in and just add that layer of black ink. Gorgeous. So beautiful the way that those feathers just come out and flare up. We're now going to grab our third feather, and this one's also going to be in tangy orange, and we're going to brush in that black taffy. All right, so what we want to do next is we want to cut these out. We're going to use these for our project. Let me make sure I close my black ink pad here. And I'm just going to come in here to cut out. Now these might be a little bit tedious to cut just because they've got so many cool points. But go ahead and cut them out in your comfort level. Or you can also use a digital scanner to cut out your images. It's totally allowed. So I first like to go around and trim all the way to the edges so that I can simply just come back in and just zigzag my way through that cut. Wherever it's going to leave me quite a bit of texture and dimension, so which is ultimately what I'm looking for here. And it's okay, you don't have to cut in every single one, you can skip a few. I like the texture, so I'm going to do as many as possible here. This is definitely going to be the most tedious project. Of all 4 projects. Okay, so just come in here and cut. Again, if you have a digital cutter, feel free to use it. It might not pick up all of the little points, but it definitely will pick up most. All right, so we've got one done. And the reason why I'm leaving my stamps on the blocks is because I'm going to need those again here in a little bit. We're just cutting through these. Now there's a couple of different types of feathers in this class. I've got some solid ones and I've got some that have a little bit more outlining to them. These are a little bit more silhouette-like feathers, which is great for techniques like these. But some of the other ones are cool because they have a little bit more form or dimension, I guess is the right word. Since these tend to be more silhouette-like stamps. Yeah, they're beautiful colors. They really come to life nicely. All right, so we've got our 3 feathers, which are absolutely gorgeous. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make room for our card base. I'm going to be using my Tite Plaid, which is a newer stamp. But again, if you don't have the Tite Plaid and you have the Lumber Plaid, you can use that the same. Notice the difference between the plaid size. So this is a very large plaid. This is a tighter, hence the name Tite Plaid. So this is a tighter plaid, but this one's not retired. This one is retired. So I will be using the new one just to keep my class current. And I'm going to be inking this up using some Sour Pineapple. And I'll show you the difference between the old and the new in regards to how they look on your project. This one's obviously probably going to show up a lot more because it's a lot tighter, a lot smaller than the original one that I used to create the project or the class with. Again, because it is larger. So we're going to go ahead and press. Make sure we've covered our area. So here's our gorgeous tight plaid. So beautiful. And that's going to get layered onto our tangy gum. Oh, did my... Oh, just kidding. We're going to go ahead and add adhesive to the back of that plaid. So gorgeous in the new plaid. It was beautiful then, but it's even more beautiful now. All right, we're going to go ahead and start with our longer feather, okay? So what we want to do is we want to ink that up just in black taffy. And right down the center, we're going to go ahead and stamp. It's a gorgeous stamp set. It's one of my favorites out of the new release. We're going to do the same thing to all three. And just kind of like make them opposite. So if the one stem to your feathers going that way, then do the other one opposite. And lastly, again, opposite of the middle. Gorgeous. We're going to use that again for a different project. But now we have our three beautiful feathers here ready to be dressed up. So when in doubt, pop it out. We're going to actually grab the cut out colored feathers and we're going to place them slightly over that image. So it's almost like creating like a shadow effect, okay? So again, when in doubt, pop it out. We're going to pop these guys out and slightly over that image to create that shadowing effect. So beautiful. Check that out. Amazing how that just beautifully comes together. There is a little piece of black taffy cardstock that we're going to want to use here to emboss using our powdered sugar embossing powder as well as our powdered sugar ink pad. So we're going to grab our sentiment, ink that up using our powdered sugar ink pad, stamping that right in the center. Actually going to do that one more time. It got stuck to my paper. So I'm going to use this side. Perfect. Clean that up. Now we're going to go ahead and emboss this. Using some powdered sugar embossing powder. Keep going and going and going. We're going to let that cool off a little bit. Let's go ahead and layer our card to our tangy orange layer. When in doubt, we're going to pop out our tangy orange onto. And then we're going to go ahead and splatter and all of that at the end, okay? So we're just creating all of the work, and then at the very end, we will come back and splatter with our dazzling pats and some black ink. All right, so now we've got our piece. And I'm going to just trim this down slightly with my scissors. I don't need that large of a piece. And on the edges, I'm just going to kind of like curl these edges so they bring in a little bit more texture. All right, using some black taffy twine, I'm going to stretch out this twine here. And I'm going to create a couple of loops. I'm going to place that there, and with some foam squares, I'm going to go ahead and attach I'm going to fasten, I guess I should say, my loops to my card front. Okay, so we've got that. Now there's also a little pin that's in the kit. Looks like this. We're going to go ahead and grab another foam square just to keep that there on the side. And I'm going to stick that pin into the foam squares. This really helps just kind of hold my pin down. And right above that is where my sign's going to go. I'm just going to add another foam square on the side here. I would like it to be just a little bit higher, so I'm going to just add a couple more foam squares for more dimension. There we go. So cute. So here we go. Keep going and going and going is our card. Now let me show you the original with the larger lumber plaid. So we've got the tight plaid, and this one's in our clearance rack, which is our lumber plaid. This is a polymer lumber plaid, and the tight plaid is a red rubber stamp. Okay, so again, we're gonna add some embossing. Some splattering at the very end. But while we still have our card here, we're gonna go ahead and add some accents with our pearls. just for a little fun showcase here. That way it's dry by the time we get ready to add. Are there no little ones? There they are. Like, do I not have any of the little ones?
Mixed in there. Yeah, I have to say that. I mean, they look beautiful with the plaid, both.
Yeah.
I do like
the tight plaid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Both look awesome.
Alright, so I'm just beginning my mess here, and then we'll be ready to jump onto our second project. And again, we're going to splatter and add all the extras at the very end. We have a little bit more embossing to do as well. Alright, so card 1, check. We are jumping to our next project here, which is also using the tight plaid. So we're going to bring in this piece so that we can go ahead and ink that up. Just make sure you press down. Nice firm press. Now if you've got a stamp positioner, that'll help too. Or if you have a cut in your hand and you have one of these sleeves, that helps just glide.
Glide right through it.
Yeah. Glide right through it. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous tight plaid. Check it out. So again, that is the brand new tight plaid in red rubber, which I'm going to go ahead and put away now, if I can find the plate.
Plastic? Oh, it was actually on the block.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
I bought it.
So it wasn't on the... Okay, because I'm going to need it for tomorrow. Alright, so that's the tight plaid. I'm going to set this aside real quick. And these two will go beautifully together. So gorgeous, that tight plaid. So in love with it. Alright, for this particular project, we're going to use the largest of the leaves that we have in this set. And same thing, first we want to go ahead and ink that up solid. This is your basic stamping in our tangy gum. So I'm going to grab a scrap of powdered sugar. Basic stamping. Beautiful impression. I'm going to use that again actually. Then we're going to grab the smallest of the feathers. I prefer the rounds when I can fit my stamps on there. And using Tangy Orange, stamp that as well. Now, typically this is the card that I would start with because it's really just basic stamping for this particular project. But since it's a redo, I wanted to just jump into some of the harder ones and then work my way down. Now, a fun little tip, guys, if you want to just kind of line up, I like to do a little line here, knowing where my sentiment kind of begins and ends, so that it helps me line up my sentiment a little bit better. So I just kind of mark it with a Sharpie. And that way, when I stamp this, I'll have a better idea. Oh, and that's not the right stamp set I use. Sorry. I used a different sentiment for that card, and I want to make sure that I'm staying true to that. I used this one. So let me line this up. So it gives me a better idea. So now I can see better as to where that, see how that stamps it gets perfectly aligned. Just by having those little markers on there really helps with that process. Adventure is out there. Using just regular black taffy ink, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna stamp one of my feathers right on top of my plaid. And I'm going to trim and cut the additional 2 feathers. You know what I've considered doing is I have hundreds and hundreds of workshops that I have taught throughout the years, and it'd be great if they were in like one particular place where like people in a inner circle or something like that can just access whenever they want. It's kind of like a monthly thing, but we upload maybe new classes every month, and you have access to the new classes, and then you have access to the old classes, and it might just really help with inspiration and techniques. That way, if you missed maybe, for example, we have card clubs every single month, and you would have access to all of the Card Club videos, as well as all of the special classes, all of the special trainings that we have hosted in the past. Might be a great way to just keep that content available.
It's a good idea. Keep the inspiration going.
Yeah, so that people can just maybe subscribe to this monthly fee and have access to unlimited classes.
I like that idea.
All right, so what we did is we did a double bow here, and we don't want it to get in the way of our sentiment. So we're gonna kind of place that bow moving upwards, okay? So that'll really help with the placement of that sentiment. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and add foam squares to fasten and hold our twine down. We added a little bit of tape beforehand, but then this will really help fasten that. We're now going to come up here. Actually, we want these to be on the other side. Perfect. And we're going to add our tangy gum feather right on top. And then, as an extra added little bonus, when in doubt, we're going to pop out our tangy orange one right above that. So gorgeous, that cluster of feathers just bursting out. We're going to go ahead and bring in some pearls. I love these pearls because they have an iridescent tone that just happens to perfectly match the color palette in these projects. Just really picks up that teal. That needs a little bit more glue. Gorgeous. All right, like I said, we're going to go ahead and splatter at the very end of this workshop so that we can splatter them all at the same time and just bring in some cool colors here. Look how beautiful Adventure is out there. So gorgeous. Now this is going to be layered onto our Tangy Gum cardstock with some foam squares, just for that extra added level of dimension. Beautiful. And our card base in that black taffy. We will add that direct. And there we've got our second gorgeous project. So we've gone to completed with the tie plaid. Now let me show you, like I said, my original had the lumber plaid. So a little bit of a different look in the background. I am absolutely in love with the tie plaid. Obviously it's my newer release, but either one of them would work for this particular project. Look how gorgeous the lumber plaid is. And how beautiful that tight plaid looks. All right, two of the more intricate cards are done. We're now going to move on to some fun background or some fun techniques in the next 2 cards. I'm just cleaning up my mess here a little bit, guys. All right, we're gonna come in here with our 3rd project. Now this one's going to be a little simpler in regards to the background. We're not going to add any of the plaid. We are going to bring in the Dream Big sentiment, and we're going to emboss again. Again, remember that technique I taught you with the Sharpie, so that you can better line up your stamps. Go ahead and add a little marker where your words are. You could either decide it's the top or the bottom, whichever one's going to help you know where the sentiment starts and where it ends. That helps you line up your sentiment so that you are guaranteed a better impression, or a more straight sentiment, okay?
Good tip.
Yeah, it's kind of hard when you can't see the indexing, but sometimes the indexing is hard to stamp with because they, either gets cleaned off with the stamp cleaner, and that's now gone. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that our stamps are very much lifers, that we have them for life, and that we know how to get around if sometimes that silk screening goes away. So we're going to go ahead and cook this. Perfect. And while that's cooling off, we're going to go ahead and grab our layers. Now for this particular card, we're going to use the solid silhouette. Excuse me.
Bless you.
The solid silhouette, and we're going to use the smaller outlined image. And we're going to do what I call a 3-tone, okay? So we're going to start here with our tangy apple, and then we're going to come back with our tangy berry. We definitely want to start with tangy apple first because your reds are a little bit harder to get. They're a little bit easier to contaminate your other ink pads, but it's really hard to contaminate a red unless you're using black. And then, of course, we're going to bring in some of that black. So again, you can almost see the 3 tones in my stamp set. And we're going to go ahead and stamp that direct. So you've got that gorgeous 3-tone feather. Now we're going to do the same thing with the next stamp, but this one's going to be a little different because we're going to start green tangy apple here on the side. We're going to come back with that tangy berry, but we're almost going to do like a brush, okay? We want that feather texture a little bit, and very, very lightly bring in that black on the side. We're going to bring that, and we're going to go ahead and offset that slightly, like so. So check out how cool the variation of that leaf. Just so, it brings so much life to your stamp. All right, so we've got our cool sentiment here, dream big, that we're going to just layer on top of this. When in doubt,
Pop it out.
we're going to go ahead and pop this guy out. And then this little part that's left over, we're going to trim down because we don't need it. We're going to go ahead and layer these two direct. Love these colors together. And we're going to go ahead and pop out our tangy berry right on top of our tangy gum. I'm sorry, our tangy berry on top of our tangy apple, sorry. Gorgeous. All right. So we're going to bring in some pearls here to accent this project. And again, it's so simple, but it's got so much life. And I love the stamping techniques that you really give them the opportunity to shine. And we're going to bring in some pearl accent pearls. And once we splatter, it's really going to just all come together. Look at how beautiful that project is. All right, so that allows the pearls to be drying for a little bit as we move on to our fourth and final project in today's workshop. And again, similar to what we've got going on here with the last project, we're going to go ahead and use the best is yet to come. Well, that's one of the sentiments in this set. I believe we've already marked it. Perfect. And again, this really lets us decide where we want to add our sentiment, so that we can get perfectly aligned every single time. We're going to grab the largest feather in that set. It's going to go right above here. But before we do that, we're going to definitely add some colors. So this one's going to be a little different. We're going to ink up the entire image with Tangy Apple. Now using our Tangy Berry, we're going to create some strokes within the feather. So just using the tip of your sugar cube, we're going to come in and just add some strokes of color. Look how cool.
Wow. Nice.
That comes out. Now to finish it off, we're going to grab the smallest feather. And this one's going to be layered on top for dimension in a complete solid black taffy. Absolutely beautiful stamp set, and I think that you guys will love just using it for a variety of different things. You know, one of the things that I think is so great for this set, one of the occasions, I guess I should say, is either if someone's retiring, if someone's moving on to another job, starting school, graduating school. Like, it's a great set for those type of occasions where these are all just uplifting messages. That are great for encouragement. When in doubt,
Pop it out.
we're going to go ahead and pop out. Look how gorgeous that looks right above the other feather. It's so beautiful the way those come together. We're going to pop out our tangy apple onto our tangy berry. Beautiful. All right, finishing touches with the pearls first. Oh,
Uh-oh.
surprise!
Surprise! It's a party.
Party. I was sharing the other day on my Facebook Live, because we do Facebook Lives every Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we started watching this show on Organization on Netflix, which is a really good show, by the way. I've always said, I don't know what I love more is paper crafting supplies or organizing my paper crafting supplies, but it's been really great to see that because I love all the little clear containers that they've been using. The name of the show is called
Getting Organized with the Home Edit or something.
Getting Organized with the Home Edit is the name of that show. And it's so good. Just because I love all things organization and I love having everything organized and everything in its place. And anyway, so I'm now like on this mission to find all the clear containers in the world to help. Like I use a lot of digifiles and like, oh, I can use all my digifiles and just separate them by, in different sections.
Categories or something.
Categories, yeah. All right. So here is our finished piece. The best is yet to come for this fourth and final project. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring in all of our projects here so that we can in fact ink them up and splatter them. The first thing that I'm going to start is I'm going to splatter with black ink first. I'm going to zoom out just slightly. Or actually, I'm just need to bring this down. Oh, yeah, I do need to zoom out a little bit. So excuse the shakiness here. I'm going to zoom out just so you can see the full spectrum of my projects. I like to use a fan brush for splattering. And I'm just going to come in here and grab some black regular dye-based ink. Okay, I'm gonna come in and just add some black splattering to my cards, and I will bring a close-up of this, guy, so don't feel like, you know, you can't see it yet. You probably can't see it as well. So before we start adding the dazzling pad, we definitely want this to dry. So I'm just gonna grab my heat tool, dry those up so that they don't get mixed in with the dazzling pad and then create a dirty color or a gray. All right, now that we've done that, now we've got 3 different dazzling pad colors. Now, if you guys are new to us, dazzling pad actually comes in a clear. It's a clear sparkle bottle called Dazzling Pad, named after a dear stamping friend of ours that passed. So it comes clear and it just gives you that beautiful shimmer color. Well, we have sugar drops in all of our colors, which is actually what we use to re-ink our sugar cubes. So they come in these little dropper bottles. By adding a few drops of color into your dazzling pad, you basically create dazzling pad in all of our sugared palettes. So this is now dazzling pad in tangy gum, dazzling pad in sour pineapple, and dazzling pad in tangy berry. So it's so great because now we have dazzling pad in all of our colors by just having the one dazzling pad, and of course all of our sugar drops. So I'm going to start here by adding the lightest color, which is our sour pineapple. And it just gives it a nice little sparkle and glow. I'll do a little close up here so you guys can see it. And it just ties in perfectly to, it comes with a little brush, kind of like a nail polish bottle. And it almost dries instant as soon as it lands on your paper. So it dries pretty fast. We're gonna come back with that tangy gum, super rich color, and just gonna give it that nice little sparkle. And it just kind of helps bring some life into that background. And lastly is going to be tangy gum. Beautiful. It's like a celebration. All right, I'm gonna zoom in now, so you can see all the fun details of our splattering.
Super gorgeous. That background, though.
I know that tight
That
plaid
tight
is
plaid.
just gorgeous.
So cool.
Gorgeous, right, guys? What a beautiful collection of projects we've created today with the Dream Big Workshop, guys. Thanks again for joining us for this fun and amazing class. The fact that it wasn't live allowed us to work through the workshop a little bit faster. And now that we've re-recorded it, we've made it live to the general public so that you guys can enjoy a lot of techniques and tutorials on how you can continue to bring paper to life. Thanks again for watching this workshop, and we hope that we've inspired you to make amazing happen.